First, let me apologize for my voice. I think the cold in London got to my larynx, so it's a bit hoarse. I'm happy to, however, to give this briefing on my recent trip to the United Kingdom. When this government was sworn in November 9th, we made a solemn pledge to the people of these Virgin Islands to put our country first. And to put our country first means building healthy and productive relationships with the rest of the world, and this is what we were able to accomplish while in the United Kingdom. My team to the United Kingdom included Finance Secretary Mr. Neil Smith, Assistant Secretary for External Affairs in the Premier's Office, Ms. Najan Christopher, elected representative for the 8th District, Mr. Marlon Penn, and Mrs. Lorna Smith. We also received valuable support from the BVI London office, in particular its director, Mr. Kedrick Malone, and Mr. Benito Whitley, political analyst at that office. I'm pleased to report that I had a successful run of meetings with the Minister of Overseas Territory, Mr. Henry Billingham, MP, followed by a series of other meetings, which I will get into in a minute. I firmly believe that by the end of the last week, we had set the right tone in the United Kingdom BVI relationship, and that will serve us well going forward. Let me first speak about the bilateral meeting with Mr. Billingham. In that meeting, we discussed the major economic challenges facing the Virgin Islands. As you know, the territory has had to adhere to the borrowing guidelines. The framework for fiscal responsibility is an evolution of the borrowing guidelines. One of the elements in the fiscal framework is the requirement to send the budget to the United Kingdom 2 months prior to approval. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the United Kingdom government way of calling on the government of the Virgin Islands to commit to being more fiscally responsible. Ladies and gentlemen, we did not sign the document, nor did the United Kingdom government attempt to force us to sign it. The framework was clearly proposed by the United Kingdom based on the performance of the previous administration. We made it clear that we were not prepared to just pick up from where the previous administration left off, but rather to decide on the best way forward to economic viability. I thought it was important to remind Mr. Bellingham that this was my second time as leader of the BVI, but more importantly, that after 37 years of managing our own fiscal affairs, we were not prepared to now have them manage for us. I'm happy that I was able to successfully negotiate for more time to assess the territory's financial condition and to put forward an effective strategy to restore fiscal balance and responsibility. I'm really pleased that Mr. Billingham was so receptive to our concerns and expressed so much his government desire for constructive engagement with these Virgin Islands. Representatives from the FCO are expected to visit in January of next year to discuss our various options in moving forward quickly. We also discussed the United Kingdom's plan to publish a new white paper on future relations between the United Kingdom and the overseas territories. I again indicated that the BVI would require more time to carry out consultations with the public and public service and the UK-BVI relationship for input in the forthcoming white paper. In the coming weeks, therefore, we will be consulting with the public on the BVI-UK relationship to feed into the white paper. We'll also be consulting with the ministries, departments, and statutory bodies of government. Please speak frankly about the direction you'd like to see our relationship with the United Kingdom go, as we seek to further define our relationship with the UK government. Mr. Billingham and I also discussed ways of improving the administration and responsiveness of our government to our people, perhaps through parliamentary secretaries, which are very prevalent in Her Majesty's government. Air access being vitally important to the continuing development of our tourism. We had separate sessions with Otcc to discuss the continuing development of the Beef Island airstrip and the options for lengthening the runway, as well as maintaining the viability of the Virgin Gorda Airport. These talks also included the support that Otcc gave to us to our aviation service in terms of regulation, which they have provided for some 9 years. Assistance with autism in the BVI We campaigned on an agenda to give great attention to children with special needs. We were therefore pleased to meet later in the day with Ms. Sue Osborne, Chief Executive of Kingwood Trust. Ms. Osborne had visited the territory in 2009 and met with government officials here, as well as with some children with autism and their parents. Ms. Osborne subsequently submitted a proposal for the establishment of a pilot program to assist autistic children and adults for a period of 18 months to 2 years. The basis of the proposal is that Kingwood will provide initial support and train local staff to work both with children and adults with autism, and then hand over the management and delivery of the entire service for local management at the end of the second year. A donor has now been found to pledge up to $381,000 for the establishment of the autism program. And we are anxious to take this program forward, and the further discussions at the Otcc meeting the next day gave us even more confidence that this program will succeed. Now about the Otcc meeting. The two-day Otcc meeting, chaired by Mr. Henry Billingham and facilitated by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, was very productive. Perhaps of most use to this territory was the United Kingdom new strategy of going beyond the FCO and getting ministries, or as the UK call them, departments, to actively involved in assisting the territories. For example, using the same autism program as an example, the Department of Education of the United Kingdom can offer specialized training of our teachers, thereby jump-starting this important program. In other areas of education, I also discussed the biggest challenge to our students' survival in the United Kingdom, that of coping with the rapidly climbing cost of education in the UK with the Permanent Secretary. The government departments all made fine introductory comments and fielded many questions from the overseas territories. Of special interest to the BVI were presentations by the Department for International Development, Ministry of Defense, Treasury, Transport, Communities and Local Government, Culture, Media and Sport, Home Office, Business, Innovation and Skills, Works and Pensions, Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, and Alternate Energy and Climate Change. And given our thrust in business development, I was very keen on the offerings of the Department of Business, Innovation and Skills. I was also very proud of the work we have done here in the BVI in the area of environment and climate change. And here, I want to divert a little bit. We were disappointed that our bid to have the copper mine point in Virgin Gorda as be declared a UK heritage site for special funding. We were disappointed it did not happen, but we were encouraged that the UK government presented other areas where the funding could be assessed. The copper mine point on Virgin Gorda is representative of a 19th century Cornish copper mine of commercial and industrial significance. This site is unique in the British Virgin Islands for its social history. The United Kingdom company Virgin Copper, also known as the Virgin Gorda Mining Company, operated the mine between 1835 and 1862. The first mine shaft at the copper mine on Virgin Gorda was sunk in 1838, but work ceased in 1842 due to financial reasons. The Copper Mine National Park is actively managed by the National Parks Trust and its staff of terrestrial wardens, who are based on Virgin Gorda. However, the ruins are at risk from weathering due to exposed location at the copper mine point and destabilization, which has been exacerbated by recent hurricanes. Stabilization work on the main structure of the engine house and the chimney stack took place in 1998 by a Cornish stonemason, and also in 2005 facilitated by a local contractor. The cost of stabilizing the chimney stack ruins were jointly met by the National Parks Trust and the Copper Mine Committee through fundraisers held over the last 12 years. Local stonemasons will be trained in stabilization and restoration of heritage sites. And this opportunity to learn a new skill will enable the creation of local capacity to conduct other historic restoration and stabilization projects at other sites throughout the British Virgin Islands. and guided tours will also be for students and visitors will be offered as part of the course services. This is an important site towards our heritage and also towards our tourism product. And we would also like to continue to pursue this project in context of other projects, such as the Sugar Works Museum, which was completed a few years ago. We will follow through in assessing public sector expertise and training through secondments to many of these departments, and the strengthening of links with the Commonwealth and European Union. As I said in the press release, we were all pleased to hear from the Foreign Secretary, Mr. William Hague, who reiterated the commitment to support the territories in a more tangible manner, as I described earlier. On the financial services front, we were given assurances of stronger support in international fora, while we in turn reiterated our commitment to maintaining the highest standards. We also made a strong case for being given the same level of recognition as the Channel Islands in terms of a robust anti-money laundering regime. The indications are that this will now be taken forward. You would have heard all about the signing with the Hertfordshire County Council Memorandum of Understanding, so I won't dwell on that other than to say that I am delighted that our athletes have found the perfect place to train and reside just before the upcoming Olympics. Following my trip there on Friday morning, I cannot say enough how grateful I am to that county for their generosity to us. And for this, we have to thank Dean the Sportsman Greenaway for being such a great ambassador for the BVI. There's of course much more ground to cover with the United Kingdom, but as I said at the beginning, this was an excellent start, and I'm very encouraged by the outcome of that visit. Thank you. Now I'll be happy to answer any questions that the press may have.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Zan Lewis, ZBVI Radio. You made mention of the discussions you held with Mr. Bellingham, and in terms of what was done or what was said about the borrowing guidelines. What was on the fiscal responsibility that was done here by the previous government? In your discussions with Mr. Bellingham, what did he say about how the government spent or utilized the fiscal responsibility in the BVI for the last 4 years?
He did say that the country was not left in the best fiscal position, but we did not have a further discussion about the way the government managed the country.
Jason Smith with the Beacon. What were their particular concerns as far as the territory's fiscal standing? Was it particularly the overall debt level, or was it another concern?
The concern of the British government is that we be more fiscally responsible. They were concerned that about the debt level, of course, and the fact that, and you must know that the British government are also observing what has been taking place, and the fact that there's an impression that sometimes we're not spending our money responsibly.
Were they concerned specifically with recurrent expenditures, or was it capital projects?
Both.
Were there specific examples that they mentioned in the discussions as far as capital projects?
No, we did not go into those details, but what we were concerned about was to get an understanding with Mr. Bellingham. We were not prepared at that time to go along that route, but we wanted more time to review the situation and present alternate proposals. And this was the main topic of discussion, and they agreed with it.
How much more time you are asking for, sir, in terms of you have been given more time to assess the financial situation of the territory? How much time are you looking at?
We expect a visit from a team from the British government in January, the coming January.
As regards the economic situation in the territory, the fiscal management of the territory, and we know the problems the economic situation countries are facing, including the Virgin Islands, and attempts by various governments to cut back. Was anything discussion presented around touching the civil service?
No, we did not have discussions with Mr. Bellingham about cutting back. Our discussions was surrounded the idea that we were not prepared at this time to go along with the program that was outlined, that we need more time to actually have another look and make alternative proposals as how we could deal with the fiscal situation. That was the focus of the discussion. Now that we're back home, we have the time to do that, and when they visit us in January, we'll be able to have those discussions.
It's been reported that the $15 million loan from the Caribbean Development Bank was that they're withholding approval because of the territory's financial situation. Is that the case, and what is your government's position on that loan?
That is actually subject to an ongoing discussion between the Ministry of Finance and the United Kingdom government. I cannot mention any more about that, except that there's an ongoing discussion about those funds.
Malika McPherson from the Island Sun newspaper. Sir, January is mere weeks away. Are you convinced, or are you sure that the government would be able to do a thorough assessment and prepare the strategy, as you pointed out, before the team arrives?
The government of the British Virgin Islands, particularly the Department of Finance, has been actively working on pursuing on other alternatives even before this visit. So we are well underway towards having alternatives present for discussion with the team when they arrive.
Ruben Stoby, Virgin Islands News and Line. Was the issue of Bywater brought up for discussion, sir?
No, that was not discussed.
Mr. Premier, one of the discussions I believe that you were involved in is looking at the various ministerial positions, and also the whole issue of having a Minister of Tourism. You were told that that is one of the areas that you'll be discussing while you were in London. Was this discussed, and what came out of it?
No, we did not discuss that sort of thing. We concentrated mainly with Mr. Billingham on our intention to review the state about the borrowing guidelines, about the FFR, and those things. Yeah.
For Raise a Hand Standpoint newspaper, as it relates to the $15 million loan, can we say why they haven't approved it as yet?
Well, as you know, the borrowing guidelines that existed had certain requirements for borrowing, and those requirements were breached, let's put it that way. And hence the need to have further discussion, ongoing discussions to be able to access those funds.
And the discussions are ongoing at the moment?
Yes.
Any idea how soon it will come to an end?
I'm sure when the team arrives in January, we'll continue those discussions.
One last thing. You're going to address the territory on the state of the country's finances after that assessment in January?
No, I will be doing that before.
How soon?
In a few days, I think. We're just completing our initial assessment, and we're making a statement based on that.
So what would you say is the relationship between the new government and the UK government from this brief trip that we did?
I will say that the meeting with Mr. Billingham was very cordial. He was understanding of our situation and very willing to work with us to look at alternative ways of fiscal recovery. And I think very willing to see the BVI as well as the overseas entities continue to prosper. So I would say that a good working relationship was established. Okay, well, thank you very much.